Hey, fellow coders. I am Stickcoder. Whether you're just starting or knee-deep in code, I will give you 2 tips every day to keep your programming game strong. Tip 1. First off, let's talk about writing clean code. I know, when you're deep in a coding session, it's tempting to name variables things like X or stuff. But trust me, in the future you will be thanked if you use meaningful names. Instead of temp, try something like userage or ordermount. It's like labeling your cereal boxes at home, makes life easier when you're hungry. Tip 2. Comment on your code. Now, I'm not saying you need to write a novel, but a few words here and there can save hours of headaches later. Comments are like road signs on the highway of your code. Without them, you'll miss your exit, end up in Bugsville, and nobody wants to debug at 3 a.m. This is day 2 and here are the 2 tips to keep your programming game strong. Tip 1. Learn debugging. Speaking of debugging, don't be afraid to dig deep into the bugs. Bugs aren't just errors, they are like little puzzles waiting to be solved. Use your debugger like a detective uses a magnifying glass, step through your code, inspect variables, and don't give up until you've cracked the case. Remember, every bug squashed is a lesson learned. Tip 2. Version control. And here's a big one, version control. If you're not using Git or some other version control system, stop what you're doing and learn it now. It's like having an undo button for your entire project. Messed up your code? No worries, just roll back to a previous version. It's like time travel for developers, and who wouldn't want that? This is day 3 and here are 2 tips to keep your programming game strong. Tip 1. Break down problems. When faced with a big problem, break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. Don't try to build the whole app in one go, start with the basic functionality and add features gradually. It's like building a house, you start with the foundation, not the roof. Tip 2. Keep learning. Lastly, never stop learning. The tech world moves fast, there's always a new language, framework, or tool popping up. Stay curious, keep experimenting, and don't be afraid to try new things. Whether it's a new JavaScript framework or a cool Python library, dive in and explore. This is day 4 and here are the 2 tips to keep your programming game strong. Tip 1 is staying updated with best practices is essential because programming tools and techniques constantly evolve. For instance, JavaScript introduced ES6 with features like arrow functions and promises, which made code more concise and easier to manage. If you're still using older JavaScript syntax, your code may be less efficient and harder to maintain. By staying updated, you can adopt these new features and improve your code quality, security, and performance. Tip 2 is code consistently by adhering to a uniform coding style, which makes your code easier to read and maintain. For example, always use camel case for variable names in JavaScript, let username equals John, or follow the PEP8 guidelines in Python, such as using for spaces per indentation level. This consistency ensures that your code looks the same throughout the project, reducing errors and making it easier for others to understand and collaborate on your code. I am Stickcoder. This is day 5 and here are the 2 tips to keep your programming game strong. Tip 1 is to practice debugging. Strong debugging skills help you efficiently find and fix issues in your code. For instance, if a Python function isn't working as expected, you can set breakpoints to pause execution and inspect variables step by step. This process lets you pinpoint exactly where the error occurs, making it easier to correct. Tip 2 is document your code. Good documentation is key for understanding and maintaining code, especially in complex projects. For example, documenting a Python API's endpoints with details on parameters and responses ensures that others, and your future self, can easily understand and use your code. A well-written README also provides an overview and usage instructions for the entire project. This is day 6 and here are the 2 tips to keep your programming game strong. Tip 1 is code consistency. By adhering to a uniform coding style throughout your project. This practice makes your code more readable and maintainable, particularly in collaborative environments. For instance, using consistent naming conventions, indentation, and formatting helps ensure that everyone working on the code can easily understand and navigate it. This reduces confusion and errors, facilitating smoother collaboration and faster onboarding of new team members. Tip 2 is to refactor regularly involves periodically reviewing and improving your code to enhance its structure and performance. Refactoring helps remove redundancy, simplify complex logic, and improve efficiency, making the codebase more maintainable and scalable. For example, you might refactor a piece of code to use more efficient algorithms or to break down a large function into smaller, more manageable ones. Regular refactoring ensures that your code remains clean, adaptable, and easier to work with over time. Hope you follow these tips. We will meet you tomorrow. Bye.